education of theirs, which, as a rule, dictates to them how better to give oneself up to what is called self-calming. Thanks to this abnormal education of theirs, not only is nothing crystallized in them to enable them to reflect and actualize anything effective in practice, but on the contrary, thanks to this abnormal education, those many consequences of the properties of the, for them, accursed organ Kundabuffer devised by the great angel, now already Archangel Luisos, are gradually formed in them and become organic functions, and being transmitted by heredity from one generation to another, are in general crystallized in the psyche of these unfortunates. Namely, those consequences of the said organ are formed in them which exist there today under the names of egoism, partiality, vanity, self-love, and so on. For such power-possessing or important beings there, our wise Mullah Nasr ad-Din also had a very interesting definition, and namely, he says, the degree of importance of these people depends only on the number of their corns. And so, my boy, when these three-brained beings of your planet, particularly of the present time, who have the means of gorging to satiety and of fully satisfying all their other needs, and who perhaps could do something for the struggle against the phenomenal evil prevailing on their planet, are satiated, and their mentioned needs are satisfied, and they are seated on what are called their soft English divans, in order, as is said there, to digest it all, they do not profit, even during this time so suitable for sincere thinking, by those favorable conditions, but indulge instead in the maleficent self-calming. And since it is impossible for all the three-brained beings of the universe, and therefore also for all the beings of your planet, to exist without the process of mentation, and since at the same time your favorites wish to have the possibility of indulging very freely in their inner evil god self-calming, they then gradually and very efficiently accustom themselves that a sort of thinking should proceed in them purely automatically, entirely without the participation of any being effort of their own. One must give them their due. In this they have attained perfection, and at the present time their thoughts flow in all directions without any intentional exertion of any part whatsoever of their presence. For instance, when, after gorging and satisfying themselves, these important and power-possessing beings of the earth are seated on their said divans, the association of thoughts which ought inevitably to flow in them receives shocks from the reflexes of their stomach and sex organs, and wander freely in all directions, as they say there, to their heart's content, and so pleasantly free and easy, as if they, that is, these thoughts of theirs, were strolling on an evening in Paris along the Boulevard des Capucines. When these power-possessing beings of your planet are seated on their soft divans, subjects like the following think in them. For instance, how to get his revenge on that acquaintance of his, John Smith, who a few days before looked at a woman he liked, not with his right eye, but with his left. Or this digesting terrestrial power-possessing or important being thinks, why did not my horse come in first at the races as I expected, but some other? Or why do those stocks, which are in fact quite worthless, go up every day on the market higher and higher? Or finally he thinks something of this kind. If I were in John Smith's shoes, who invented a new method of breeding flies from making ivory from their skeletons, then from the profits obtained I would do this, that, and the other, and not as that fool who, like a dog in the manger, will neither himself eat nor let others eat, and so on in the same strain. Still, it does occasionally happen there that some power-possessing or important being of the earth suddenly chances to think not under the influences of the reflexes of his stomach and sex organs, but thinks sincerely and quite seriously about these or other questions, with particular regard to this terrifying terrestrial question. But even these sincere reflections of the power possessors occur for the most part also quite automatically from casual external causes of the following kind. Either someone very near to them has had his existence violently terminated during the last such process of theirs, or someone offends them strongly and painfully, or someone stirs their emotions by doing some great favor for them or giving them something which they did not at all expect, or finally when they feel the approach of the end of their own existence. And in these cases, when the power-possessing beings there sincerely ponder about this phenomenal horror which proceeds on their planet, they are always greatly agitated by it. And of course, in this state of theirs, they make a vow to undertake at all costs and to actualize everything necessary to put an end to this increasing evil. But here lies the trouble. No sooner do the stomachs of these sincerely agitated beings become empty, or no sooner do they recover a little from these externally arisen impressions which had dejected them, then they not only instantly forget their vow, but even they themselves again begin consciously or unconsciously to do precisely everything which is generally the cause of the outbreak of these processes between communities. As a rule, in consequence of the fact that these power-possessing or important beings there do not use the time foreseen by great nature for preparing themselves to become worthy responsible beings, owing chiefly to which during their responsible existence, even in their waking state, all kinds of associations in their common presences almost always flow automatically. Therefore, they themselves, without any individual intentions, and at times even half-intentionally, try to do everything in such a way that the next process of reciprocal destruction should occur sooner. And they even hope that this next process should proceed on as large a scale as possible. Such a monstrous need arises in their abnormal psyche because they expect certain egoistic profits from these processes, either personally for themselves or for their nearest. And with their degenerated mentation, they even hope that the greater the scale of the next process, the greater the extent of the said profits to be obtained, either personally for themselves or for their nearest. It even sometimes happens there, my boy, that certain of the power-possessing and important beings among your favorites unite and form a special society with the aim of jointly finding out and actualizing in practice some possible means for the abolition of this arch-criminal property of theirs. Just as I was leaving that solar system forever, there was again there on your planet a great deal of talk about the formation of such a society, and it seems that they intend to call their new society the League of Nations. I said again, because they had already many times formed similar societies which always finally died in the same strange way. Namely, they always died without any death agony. I very well remember when such a society first arose there in the town of Samonix, in the country Tikliamish,